The views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent, including Olas Media.
Olas Media. This is Hilariously Blunt with Walter Ford.
Thanks for watching, everybody. Thank you for listening in, too. This is the Hilariously Blunt podcast. I'm your host, Walter Ford. Happy day this evening. Happy day. I'm here with one of the best, most hilarious, hardest working people I've met in Santiago.
Oh, thanks, man. Well, this was fun. We can just stop there.
Yeah, I'm dead.
That was great. Right there is a good way to start and stop.
Exactly. Dallas McLaughlin.
Hi, how are you?
Dallas McLaughlin.
How are you?
Two-time Emmy winner, Dallas
go.
McLaughlin. Excuse me.
You don't have to say it.
You got to put your credits
What's
up.
funny, though, is when you do tell the hosts at a show, just like, well, there you go. What are your credits? What do you want to say? And then you go, you can say Emmy winner. And they go, oh, okay. And then they don't say it. And then you're like, well, what was the point of that?
What was the
Because I
setup?
hate saying credits to begin with. Like, I don't think nobody's going to, I've never experienced a time in my life when a comic was about to come to the stage that you would never heard of, right?
Yeah.
But because of some credit, the audience was like, oh, well.
Oh shit!
Well, we better.
I've heard of that
let's
show.
Strap in. You know, this is going to be great. And, like, that's never happened ever. So, like, I hate credits to begin with. I used to give fake credits all the time when I started doing comedy.
I ain't gonna lie. I ain't gonna say I was faking them, but you know how I kind of build them up a little bit.
Well, sure, but then I would just lie though. They would be like, they're like, is that you or me? Oh,
That's
okay,
me.
no,
That's me.
That's all right. I got kids, so I'm always one phone call away from the hospital.
No, I don't.
No, people would always be like, "Oh, what's your credits?" Be like, "Oh, I would, just tell them that I just finished headlining down at the Giggle Canoe." And they'll be like, "Oh, okay, cool. Where's that?" And I'd just make up a play. Like,
Yeah.
it didn't matter.
Yeah, exactly.
Nobody cares.
It's Farmland, Washington.
Yeah, exactly.
Farmland.
No one came to this showcase tonight
to see me
from
Farmland, Washington.
that isn't my friend that I brought. You know what I mean? Like, so it's a silly practice, but it does make me mad when I do take the time. And then either they fuck it up, or they don't say it at all.
They say the wrong thing, or just say misspell it.
I got one is like I did one show one time. Maybe it was at the Comedy Store. I forget. But
Oh no, that's believable. It happens.
I did a comedy show one time. Comedy show. I sound like I'm 55 years old. I did a comedy program.
I was at the Comedy Avenue,
and the guy goes, "Yeah, what's your credits?" And I tell him, "Yeah, you can just say, oh, I won a couple Emmys or whatever, 2-time Emmy, whatever you want to say."
Yeah.
And they go, he goes, "Oh, okay." And he's like, "What's the what'd you win it for?" I'm like, I was like, I normally don't tell that to people because normally they don't say it right.
They ain't gonna
always
get
screw
it
it up.
correct, yeah.
And he goes, no, I'll remember. I'll write it down. I'm like, okay, cool. And so I tell him the Aquabats Super Show and Yo Gabba Gabba. And he's like, all right. So he writes it down, gets up on stage. And this guy coming to the stage, very funny guy. Want to welcome to the stage. I guess he like won an Emmy or something. I don't know, for the the Super Show.
They turned into a whole different.
He did this whole thing, and then he like flippantly was like he won. I guess he won an Emmy. So I got up on stage and I was like, dude, man, fuck you. I was like, first of all, have you won an Emmy? Like, no, you haven't. Okay, and like the fact that I had, you just sit there, you're like.
You know who I am.
It's not an easy thing to do, and you're just like, oh yeah, I guess you want to. Like, oh, okay, all right, buddy. Thanks for making me feel like an asshole for having a credit.
Exactly.
My fault. My apologies.
Thank you for my accomplishment.
Yeah,
not
I've only been doing
mattering
this
at all.
for 25 damn years. I'm sorry that I had to accomplish something in that time.
Fuck, that's so funny, man. Speaking of 25 years,
yeah,
like you've been in the game for a while,
long time,
and this is all about comedy and getting to know comedians outside of the world of comedy too. So what got you even starting to do this game? Like, what made you?
The lack of wanting to deal with anybody.
I feel you.
I
want to be my own boss.
There you go. I mean, that stand-up is your own. I mean, if you get to a point, you're surrounded by tons of people who take a piece, but usually they're giving you something for that piece. So that's
exactly.
fine,
Exactly.
But ultimately, you're your own boss. You decide if you want to go out on the road. You decide if you don't. So yeah, I think that's why most people get into stand-up, is because they just hate relying on other people. I got into comedy because I was an actor. A theater actor.
Oh shit!
Which I still do. I'm doing a show this summer at a theater in Vista.
Okay, I didn't know that. I'm a thespian as well. I've
There you
done
go.
2 plays since I've lived here.
Oh,
They were like
fantastic.
smaller productions, but it was a production though.
Yeah,
I was
no.
on stage.
Listen, anybody like theater is my love. It's my first love, and if I had my
Really?
druthers, I would just go do theater all the time, and that's all I do.
I could not imagine. I did not know that, bro. I would never imagine that.
Yeah, dude. I was I did used to do Shakespeare pretty exclusively, and did Lincoln Center.
I was going to ask that. Were you Shakespeare? I art thou, where'th thou, knowest, wist thou?
Yeah, I would just say that
Swiss
over and over again.
Horst. Fucking-
I would say Horst a lot. No, I do. I went to the San Diego School of Creative and Performing Arts.
Okay.
That's the high school I went to, and I was
real quick. Was
Yeah,
that one of
sure.
the schools you had to audition to go to?
no. So
It was not like that.
they were the first school I think in Southern California to not do that.
Oh,
they
shit.
used to at some point, and then they stopped.
But it was a visual and performing arts school. Is that
Yes,
the wording?
they did dance, they did photography, theater.
Okay, okay. We had
like
something like that,
painting and stuff like that. Like, yeah, they were, and it was like that was your focus. So like if you went there, like that's all. Well, there's no sports.
Yeah.
All the electives were dance and theater and stuff like that.
We had a school just like that. It was called Emerson, and you had to again audition, but you had to have a talent or a focus. Or
Yeah. Most schools are like that, and I, honestly, it's probably for the best.
oh yeah, no, 100%. Not all the students are talented.
Yeah.
I mean, you might love your baby. That don't mean they can hold a note,
I mean,
a harmony.
Yeah, exactly. The school was like. I think they went back to being an audition school, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know, but
because they probably let in too many.
I'm actually going back there in 2 weeks. They're doing this. What is it? A showcase. Some students
fire.
like made like a video showcase, and because of what I do now, somebody had reached out to somebody, and they were like, "Hey, can you get some people together to come like be judges for this showcase
That's
and give feedback?" And I was like, "Hey, I went to that high school," and then now I'm committed to going.
Now,
back
yeah, exactly. You done fucked up to gain some
Yeah.
information.
It's all right. I haven't been there in like 6 years was the last time I went there. I went there for my drama teacher, who I consider my mentor. He retired, and so a bunch of his ex-students came. And I mean, it's crazy when you, from performing arts high school, it's crazy who shows up for those things, because it was, listen, I'm not famous by any means, but I make my living in art, which is a lot more than some people could say.
Creative. No, that's a blessing. That's what I'm saying.
I'm happy to. It's the greatest gift I can give myself.
Yeah.
So I was able to come and do this MC the day, which had all these singers from all over the place, and we had like Grammy Award winners and Oscar and Tony Award winners.
And all these people are from all
from
had the same
school, and he was their teacher. And it was just
that's
a
dope.
great. It was
dope.
really cool. Anyway, but yeah, man, I went there. I was doing theater, and then when I graduated from high school, I went and auditioned for Juilliard.
Oh, you
And,
was going straight to the NBA. You
That
said,
was
"Fuck,
what
I'm
I
going
did.
to the best."
I got accepted, and I couldn't pay. My family was dirt poor, and they were like, "Hey, you could listen this year. We can give you this scholarship." And they're like, "But we've already I auditioned late in the
process, like the time frame that
the
they
process.
had.
Yeah. Like, they
got
started and they had like 2 months, and they're like, if you want to audition next year, come to the very first audition. But they're all on the East Coast, so it was like I can't get to the
that's
East
a
Coast.
plane.
They're like, but they already have like offered out all these scholarships. So by the time I auditioned in San Francisco, I think it was like the last week, and they were doing auditions, and they were like, we can offer you something. It was like something like a 35% scholarship, and that was nothing. I mean, to me, that was, you might as well just
You might as well just give me
nothing,
zero.
So like I was like, okay, well, I'll audition next year then, and I'll figure out a way. I'll get to New York. I'll figure out a way. And
Now you're 18 at the time,
18,
and you just got out of school. Now, did you
out
do
of school.
theater all 4 years or
I
what?
did theater all 4 years, man. I did theater in school. I did theater outside of school.
Oh shit!
I
So
probably
you were
did-
adamant.
Probably did like 7-8 shows a year.
Oh, you was on it. That
all the
so
time,
people that
man.
don't know, that's a lot. That's a lot of lines. I don't know. I mean, it depends even if you got a lot of lines or not. You still gotta stand the right place, know the play, know the plot, know everybody else's lines. That's a lot of work, is what I'm saying. That's not,
Yeah, man,
Yeah,
it's-
you ain't fucking around.
No. And that was all I wanted to do was be in theater. So like when Julia was such an amazing moment, and then it was like ripped away from me, and I was like, motherfucker.
Yeah, ripped your heart out.
But I was like, that's fine. I'll take a year off, and I'll go audition around town, man. I'll go audition around San Diego and do some theater while I'm waiting. And you kind of quickly find out that there's just gatekeepers everywhere, just like comedy, man.
Yeah,
There's gatekeepers everywhere, So it's like every theater had their come audition, sure, but you're not really good enough for like the Lamplighter. And this was like some shit theater in La Mesa, and I'm like, man, fuck you.
Somebody had some money and just made a place.
Yeah, exactly, man. And they had their and no disrespect. Actually, that's fine. Disrespect to the Lamplighter.
I'm weak.
Like,
eating now. Who eating now? You gotta talk your shit, Dallas.
but they.
I'm your hood translator. I got you.
There, thank you. I
Who
appreciate
eating
it.
now?
I know. I feel like I should have been up to date on my lingo.
I got you.
But yeah, so man, that was kind of the first step of like, I had this group of friends. We were all theater people, but we also loved comedy. Like comedy was.
I think they're hand to hand though too.
I mean, there's a long standing like argument where it's like comedy is actually a lot harder to do than drama. And if you've ever seen,
I agree.
If you've ever seen a comedy at a theater, then yeah, dude, like,
Fuck yeah.
There's some that are just shit.
The ones that I were a part of, I was the comedic relief pretty much.
There you
You
go.
know what I'm saying? So and one of them was in Old English, like the Will Stowest, Oest,
Yeah.
Knowest, Horest.
Forced. Yeah.
Yeah. I had to, it's kind of hard to deliver these lines and just be a character and be funny, like you said. Just
It's
theater,
hard,
just
man.
a medium. Yeah.
And so we were, we loved theater though. We were big theater nerds. We were Saturday Night Live and Monty Python and Kids in the Hall were like, that was like all sketch. We were all about sketch.
And I was gonna say at that time, is that kind of when sketch was booming at the time, right? Because SNL was popping probably around that
SNL
time,
was
right?
like, yeah, let's see. So when I graduated high school, it was probably like right when like the Will Ferrell cast had started to like come into its own.
Oh shit.
But during my formative years, like when you're like 12 to 15, when everything is funny,
When everything's amazing,
if it's like a fart joke, it's the best.
Yeah.
I had like Farley and David Spade and Adam Sandler and all that whole crew was like who I grew up
Legendary.
watching.
Yeah.
And then at the same time, there was Kids in the Hall, which basically like completely revamped.
I don't even know what that is. If I can
So
be
Kids in
honest.
the Hall, if you saw some of the guys, you would know who they are.
Yeah.
There's guys like Bruce McCullough, Dave Foley, Scott Thompson.
Now this was they were like a sketch comedy.
So like
troupe group.
I'll give you the quick rundown.
Yeah. Just quick rundown because
You're right, though. A lot of people don't know.
you
which
giving
is
us
crazy to
us
me.
game.
So Lorne Michaels.
I know Lauren Michaels.
Lorne Michaels had Saturday Night Live, right? When he went to Canada to see this group in Canada called Kids in the Hall. They were doing live shows at a theater, live sketch shows at a theater, and he was hearing about them. So he went and saw their show, loved their show, hired a bunch of them to come write for Saturday Night Live. But like in the first year, they were like, it just wasn't working. And he was like, you guys need to do your own thing. I'll produce a show that you make. So he produced their show. So it's a Lorne Michaels production. And then a lot of them, after the show got canceled,
And
came back to SNL.
I was gonna say, and this was on TV. This is like a show that was on
TV.
TV.
It was on Comedy Central for a while. It was on, it might have been on NBC, like late.
Yeah,
like
of course.
1:30 in the morning late.
But back in the day, they used to have like some raunchy stuff on TV back in the late at night.
And what's funny is Kids in the Hall wasn't raunchy. But it was just like weird and different.
It was different.
And like nobody knew what to do with it.
Yeah,
But-
especially at that time. I feel like at
yeah.
certain times, if you weren't in a box,
Yeah. When there was just like 5 channels, yeah. Exactly.
and all the other ones were C-SPAN.
Yeah, exactly.
It was like 8 C-SPAN
You're either
channels.
watching the weather or somebody talking at a podium. Yeah. Yeah, man. So they were great. So Kids in the Hall was amazing. And
Okay.
like that was like if you were into Kids in the Hall, you were kind of nerdy. And then which was fine with us.
Yeah, of course.
But then like this show called Mr. Show came out in the late 90s on HBO, which was the two guys who mainly wrote and they were the stars of it were Bob Odenkirk and David Cross, who people know Bob Odenkirk. He's Better Call Saul and
yeah,
nobody.
I was gonna say, yeah, better.
But like he was a legendary comedy writer all the way before that, and
I didn't know that.
Yeah, man, he wrote for SNL. He was on SNL as a character every once in a while. He's a legend.
Yeah.
So David Cross was like this up and coming alt stand up. Like alt comedy was just starting to find its voice in LA.
And did you feel like you fit more into that alt comedy space?
Yeah, man.
That was kind of
Yeah, because like we were doing stuff like we loved the SNL stuff, but most stand up at the time wasn't that great.
Yeah.
There was like the stand like Seinfeld was, he already had a show by then, but he was still like the kind of the gold standard of and not that that's bad, but
Yeah.
but like you didn't have access to stand up like
Yeah.
you do now.
Yeah, no, it's different.
So
it
it's
was
like
totally different.
You were told who was funny. You didn't really find who was funny. You know what I mean? So you had to go see shows. We used to go see shows in LA So during this year, there was a show that was happening in LA every Tuesday called Comedy. It was called Comedy Death Ray, which became Comedy Bang Bang, which is the Scott Aukerman podcast and show for a while. But Comedy Death Ray would happen every Tuesday at a bar in LA. It was $5 to get in. And it was hosted by, this was like after Mr. Show had already been canceled. But Mr. Show like took sketch to another level. It was like Monty Python meets Kids in the Hall. Like it was just this weird amalgamation of like next level alt sketch comedy that some of it made no sense. Some of it was like dramedy, like you were invested.
Was it like, it sounds like kind of what Mad TV turned into and kind of like, I could be wrong.
I didn't watch a lot of Mad TV.
Oh, okay.
But
my bad.
No.
Let me cut you off though.
No.
Yeah. But it sounds like a lot of different shows developed from that. Same format.
Mr. Show like influenced. So I'll just say, like the cast of Mr. Show was basically like people you know now, but would have never known back then, like Patton Oswalt and Louis C.K. and Dino Stamopoulos. I can't ever say his name right. Guys who like developed and wrote shows that we all watched, like Community,
Exactly.
Parks and Rec and stuff. They were all involved. So like they just blew up this scene in LA. And so every Tuesday we would go, me and my friends, because we just were like, we can go see the Mr. Show guys like at this show, because they would always show up. So like every Tuesday, dude, you would go and you would see like Odenkirk would host, right? And you would see Louis C.K., you'd see Patton, you'd see Maria Bamford, Anthony Jeselnik would like open. He was a nobody.
Yeah.
Nick Swartzen.
Nick Swartzen's my guy. I ain't gonna lie, he's hilarious.
The guy I first saw there who's like the best is Jimmy Pardo. He's the best crowd work comic there ever was.
Jimmy Pardo?
Jimmy Pardo. He has his own podcast called Never Not Funny.
I haven't heard of Jimmy Pardo. I'm
he-
young in the game. I don't know nobody.
No, it's okay. Jimmy Pardo is very niche. Like his comedy podcast was one of the first there was. Ever.
Genius. So he was like with Joe Rogan and stuff when they was doing like
He was
webcams.
before Joe Rogan.
Oh
So
shit!
it was like there was like Car Talk, Ricky Gervais, and Jimmy Pardo's podcast.
Yeah. I knew Ricky Gervais was started off too.
And Jimmy Pardo's podcast it's still going, man. He's so funny. But like, so every Tuesday you would go and you'd see, if you were a comedy nerd, you'd see
that was
the best comedians you'd ever want to see.
Exactly. For $5 fucking dollars.
For $5.
That's
and like
crazy.
Dana Gould and Andy Kindler. And
I don't want to age you, but what year would you say this is? I don't want to say
That's
it like
okay.
I want to say
That's
it like
okay.
you fucking, you know.
This is probably 1999, 2000.
Okay, early 2000s. These are early 2000s. And the people you naming are like huge now.
Yeah.
And like you've seen them when they were like
Nothing.
developing.
It was like you were going to a showcase night with all their buddies were hanging out.
Exactly.
And but I mean,
crazy.
but
I can't
again,
imagine that.
Most of them have been working, man. So like Mark Maron, for example, like he was already a well-established comic if you knew comedy.
Yeah, no, 100%.
But you could go to this Comedy Death Ray show and he'd just be there doing, he'd come in and do 15 minutes and, people knew him, but he wasn't a famous person.
Yeah, of course.
Sarah Silverman, like these people who you would see around doing stuff. But so it was just like, we started going to there and because we were hitting all these roadblocks in San Diego with theater, we were like, man, why don't we just go produce our own show? And so
Genius, got the entrepreneurship.
Yeah, well, it's just back then. It's like this is before YouTube, which is hard for people to understand. But it was like websites were just becoming like functional. MySpace.
I know what you're saying.
I don't even remember MySpace.
I'm 29, so I was right before computers.
Okay,
and before computers stopped doing the
and
right around when MySpace was a thing.
Yeah, and
like, I'm right in that range.
And like MySpace, if you put like a video up on MySpace, then your page would take like 10 minutes to load. Yeah, like it was like the internet wasn't figured out.
It wasn't a thing yet. Yeah.
Like it was there. So like doing things on the internet wasn't really an option, so to speak.
Yeah, no, it wasn't efficient at all.
So we were like, well, let's just do our own play. We'll put on our own plays. That was the initial idea. We'll put on our own plays. But then it became kind of this thing where we don't have money for rights. So like, well, let's just write our own plays. So then we rented a theater in Hillcrest, a small little theater in Hillcrest. And it turned into like, well, let's just do sketch comedy since we love sketch comedy. So all of us.
That's crazy.
So this group of 8 of us, we wrote, produced, directed. We did everything ourselves. We rented out this small theater in Hillcrest, and it was like a 45-seat theater. And we did a weekend, our first weekend. I think we did 4 shows in the weekend, and we sold out every single show, right?
Damn.
Which is great. It's 40 seats, But we were like, this is cool that this many people came out.
Yeah, that's 120 people for something that y'all came up with in y'all brain.
We were amazed. So then 3 months later, we were like, all right, well, let's do the next one. So then it just became a thing. So that we did the next one, and then we started doing 2-3 weekends. We had lines around the block coming into the theater. And at the time, I mean, part of it, I'll give ourselves credit that we were putting out really great stuff. But the other part of it too was like back then this is early 2000s. There was no comedy in San Diego. There was the Comedy Store. There was like Madhouse wasn't around yet.
Yeah, no.
So there was the Comedy Store. There was Improv Sports. And then there was us.
What the fuck is that?
Like theater sports, like where they would do like improv games, which is
Okay.
now, so National Comedy Theater, I think they're still called that. Maybe
Yeah.
Comedy
That's what they're
Sports
called now.
whatever.
That's what they're called, National Comedy Theater.
So they still do what theater sports used to do. But that was it, man. So you didn't really have choices to go see live comedy.
So what you saying is y'all, it was a void, like we were talking about earlier. It was a void, and y'all filled that bitch
Yes.
and ran through the door.
And it was
Kicked the
great,
door.
man. And so because we were doing that, and then we had some guys who were going to LA for school, Occidental and UCLA, and they were making connections with people. And we were just kind of talking to people at Comedy Death Ray. We started doing sketches at Comedy Death Ray. Like,
Real quick question. Well, but why, before we get too far into the next
let
level.
me know if I'm rambling.
No, you're not rambling.
Okay.
No, this is I love this because this is what people need to hear, like about people see people at a mountain, but they don't understand how you got to climb it rock by rock. So you just see somebody here and you think that was overnight, like, but it's the detail. Yeah, fucking overnight, right?
Yeah.
So what I was gonna say was, when did y'all notice? Hey, this shit is kind of working, because like you said, you sold out the first weekend, and then you said you sold out, and people start going around the corner, and then you start performing at Comedy Death Ray. Is that happening? So how did you feel right when you realized that I'm pretty much making this shit up out of my brain and people are paying me to come see it? Like, when was that?
Well, it was probably that second run we did of we were doing all new shows every time. So we were doing 2-hour shows every time.
2 hours? New material?
New material, man. And we were, but most of us were living in the same apartment.
Okay.
And we were like, we were just doing this. We had our jobs, but we were in our early 20s, so you didn't have real jobs.
Yeah, of course. You got responsibilities. You got that.
So, and rent was super cheap because we were all splitting rent. So it was just like, okay, we'll figure out. And we just wrote all day, and then we rehearsed at home. And, but I think the second show we did was probably when we started to go like, oh, this might have like a place, because we were selling out. It went beyond our friends coming.
Exactly.
And was now like people were just hearing about it and showing up.
You had a buzz.
And like, it was fucking crazy. And so then we got bigger and we had to move venues to get to a bigger venue. And it was like, and then once we did a showcase for, we started doing showcases for different theaters. Like they would invite us to come do a night, so we did like one at the Lloyd Playhouse, and then we did one at the Comedy Central stage, which used to be called the Hudson Theater
that's
in LA.
fire.
And that's when like we got connected with some Scott Aukerman and doing Comedy Death Ray, and through that, like a lot of the guys kind of got these little side things, and
that's when people start getting kind of connections and money's probably taking this way.
And we were kind of like talking at Comedy Central about developing something, but we were young, man, and like we didn't know anything. Yeah. And during that time, though, we were living in the house. We were living in La Jolla, and the Comedy Store was doing open mic, right? And so people were like, "Hey, like let's all go to the Comedy Store and do open mic together, like just as an exercise. Like let's just have fun and go."
And before that, you never did stand up.
Never did stand up.
Were you a fan of stand up?
I did certain stand up.
Well, you said you used to go see the show. The show that they used to do, that was a stand up show, or was that like
at the Comedy Store?
No, when you said you used to go see Patton Oswalt.
So it would be mainly stand up, but they would also do like some sketch.
It was some sketch.
Yeah,
okay.
Sketch
So it was mixed. Okay.
Yeah, it kind of became like the standard for what a lot of shows ended up being, like independent shows where you'll see like two hosts come out and they'll do like a sketch or a banter thing. Like BJ Porter and Scott Aukerman, they'd come out and they'd do like a little bit, or they'd have guest hosts come out and do like a little bit. And then maybe they'd throw some bits in throughout the night.
And then,
but it was mainly a stand-up show.
Exactly.
But
so my bad for cutting you off. So now we're going to the store.
Store. Yeah, I love stand-up, but again, this was like those guys were like edgy underground comics. So I didn't think going to the Comedy Store we would see any of them.
Yeah,
we didn't. But we went to it was like an open mic night, So
yeah, no, this whoever's around, whoever's around, try it. You're drunk.
Yeah, and we go right, and we decide. Okay, we're like that day we're gonna write out our sets. We're writing out our sets.
Was it 5 minutes then, or still
3 minutes?
It was still 3 minutes.
Thank Christ. Those 3 minutes. So we run out our sets, right? And we're like, all right, let's go do it. We like would help each other with jokes but we kind of wanted it to be a surprise. Like we wanted all of us to show up and just watch our sets for the first time. So we go that night, we sign up, we all get on. The only guy that was there then that's still doing it now, I don't know if you know Guam Felix. You know Guam?
I do know Guam. Guam was there.
Guam was there. Guam was a young... I don't know if he was young, but he was...
I mean, he had to be because he's still young now.
He was maybe six months a year in.
Yeah.
But he was the only guy there that I still remember being around.
Guam is still the first person I met at the store in Hollywood. He's the first person I ever met there. Shout out to Guam Felix.
One of the sweetest dudes.
That's my guy. It was just his birthday not too long ago.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, bro.
So he was there, but we go, we do the show, and we actually did pretty well, you know?
Yeah.
But again, like we had the benefit of we're all actors. Like the stage is not foreign to us. You know what I mean?
That's
like,
the difference.
We could pop on there and not worry about it.
Exactly. That's half the battle is just being comfortable on stage and then the jokes come. Like
exactly. Exactly. So so we were good, man. And then we get there and we have the night. It was fun. We leave. And on the way out, the bartender, I don't know who it was at the time, comes out around the bar. Hey, man, you guys were great. Oh, thanks. Here, this is a card. Gave us all the cards. This is for our best of thing. You just call this number. Call in. You guys are all on the best of show. And we're like,
just like that, your first time pulling up?
Dude, we thought it was the funniest, stupidest thing of all time that we were now best of San Diego comics.
Hey,
we could not.
Crazy.
But I mean, if you would have seen the open mic back then,
no, I believe it.
It would have made sense.
Yeah, you see shit. See the open mic now. It's probably the same thing.
It's just
COVID jokes.
I can't even tell you how bad it was.
I believe it because there wasn't no internet and you couldn't
no internet.
You could say whatever the fuck you wanted to and no consequences.
There was no this is what a stand-up does.
Yeah.
You know, it was you had to really research it to figure it out.
That makes sense because it wasn't content and classes or internet to research or
so
books.
Now people are like, you have the benefit. But so we did the best of thing. I think the next week we all signed up and did the best of thing, and we all had okay sets. And then after that, it was like most of the guys were like, we're not. I don't want to care about this. Like this is dumb. We're not going to do this anymore. But then there was 3 of us: myself, my buddy Zach Paez, and our buddy Sean O'Donnell. We all decided that we would go. We would try to kind of keep
doing it, yeah,
and just see what we could do.
Because it's working out both muscles,
exactly. And it gave us another place to write jokes, and so we started doing more character stuff. And our buddy Zach was like a great one-line comic, and he just kind of developed in this doing that. And then one time, man, I went and I got bumped. Right,
that first time getting bumped, boy.
And I got bumped by some guy. Couldn't tell you who he was. Definitely not around still. He was from LA. He was from LA. I only remember because I remember Lizzie Cooperman, who's still doing. She's very funny. She came down from LA to host that night.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know her at all, but I met. We did shows years later together.
Yeah,
and I'm like, you hosted the night. But she gets up, right? She's hosting. She brings up this guy who's obviously her buddy. He bumps me. Gets up and he just bombs for 10 minutes.
Hard bomb too.
Dude, it was
Don't you hate that?
But he was so fucking confident in what he was doing, and I got so fucking angry. I was in the back. I used to be like, I mean, a lot of people, comics of my generation for sure, in San Diego, they know I used to have a very bad temper. And
for what you?
Yeah. And I wasn't a drunk, but I like drinking. I still like drinking.
Of course. Yeah, you had a good time.
I used to drink a lot heavier.
Yeah, of course.
And I used to just get into it with people. And I had a terrible temper. So I was in the back just brooding, who the fuck is this guy bumping me? Blah, blah, blah. But who am I?
Yeah, exactly. You was ready, though. You was ready. You was trained to go.
I got up after him.
Over your 3 minutes?
I got up after him and I started my set. And I don't know. I don't even know how to describe it. I never have not gotten that many laughs so quick. There was no laughter. It was just silence. It was just silence.
Yeah,
man.
You was having a speech. You was giving a speech. It was a TED Talk.
But I thought I was doing jokes. And then I started going off on how much LA sucks, and that didn't do anything.
Oh yeah, no.
And then I was like, you know what? Fuck this. And then I walked off stage.
Oh, you did the fuck this? Oh, you did the fuck this? Oh, damn.
I walked off stage, and Lizzie Cooperman, I just remember coming back up, and she goes, and I just remember her line going, I've never seen a comic find the eject button, but he did. And I was like, I walked out of the building and I didn't do stand-up again for a decade.
What the fuck? Are you for real?
Yeah, man. I mean, I guess maybe 8 years.
I mean, still
8
though.
years. So we went back to doing sketches.
Real quick though.
Yeah.
So how long was the time frame when you started before you quit?
Stand up?
Yeah.
Oh,
when
like
you that
a
first
month.
stint. Okay, so it was a month in. You was doing
maybe a month.
4 weeks hard.
Yeah.
4 weeks hard.
I was grinding.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's the funny thing is back then you got one spot. There's one place.
That's it.
There's guys trying to do independent shows. Like Guam, for example, there's this guy, I forget his last name, but Matt was his first name. Also super nice. They produced this one independent show downtown that they booked a lot of us on to come do.
Fire. Yeah.
And we did that. That was really fun. But like,
Other than that, though, if you want to do like an actual comedy club, legit,
Wasn't around.
Yeah, it was the store, and you had 3 minutes.
and Matt House was like just starting to do it at some weird office building, I think, at the time. But anyway, so we went back to sketches and we kind of fell apart. The sketch group kind of fell apart. Some of the guys stayed in LA and started doing writing. Zach stayed in stand up and got job. He became a writer on some television shows. And we all kind of just did our own thing. I stayed in San Diego, started a band with some buddies.
Oh, so you got into some music. You just
Got
said,
into music. I went on tour. We released albums, went on tour.
Now, real quick,
Yeah.
was that a lucrative endeavor? Like when you
band?
guys, not the band, but before when you guys were doing all the
sketch?
stuff,
Oh,
all the
fuck
sketch.
no,
y'all-
dude. God, no.
Okay, you said you was selling out shows, so I'm saying,
No.
Okay,
But you got, I mean, when you're producing your own shit, though, it's like
you got to pay for it,
You're
and
paying
it's
for everything,
splitting the
man.
money, and
So you're
yeah.
paying for the rental of the theater. Like that's
Yeah.
the thing is there was no spot. There's no going to the comedy store and going, hey, can we have a night? That just wasn't a
that's
thing.
not a it's not a-
So you had to rent a theater. So we were paying a few $100 a night,
Making
on the
a few
theater.
$100.
We weren't charging a ton of money, but we had to pay sound guys and light guys, and we gave ourselves a couple of. I mean, we would literally probably walk away with maybe like $40 a piece.
Yeah, of course.
So there wasn't a lot of things involved, a lot of money involved.
But you were doing what you loved, and you got the repetition.
Well, dude, we were like, it was like, this is what we want to do. So you got to figure it out.
Yeah.
Nobody's
Yeah.
going to hand it to you.
That's fucking crazy. You say that, and it's easy to say that. And you and me, well, I got it in me too. But not everybody has that nonchalant. I mean, it's this way or this way, so I'm doing this way. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Well, I mean, you got to like, here's the thing. Like,
have you always been that driven? Is really what I was going to get at. Have you always been that?
I guess my only goal in life, and I've so far been extremely fortunate to have completed that goal or reached that goal, I guess, is that I've never wanted to have a normal job.
Yeah.
I've never wanted to sit in an office and have to worry about paperwork and getting these, like execs and all that shit.
Yeah.
I just never, and listen, when you go into, like I worked in television for a number of years, you deal with execs, you deal with paperwork, you deal with all that stuff, but it's a different load.
It's a different type.
different workload.
Yeah.
It's not numbers and accounting and budgets. It's,
Yeah.
and anytime I've gotten too close to that realm, I've literally just walked away and started something else.
And do you feel like when you do that walk away, you end up getting in a better situation or
Usually not. No. No. It's like, it's just,
rock bottom after that?
it's
I'm
just
like,
reset,
I'm good.
man.
Now
It
fuck
is-
up.
It is
No,
resetting.
Reset.
But that's fine. Like I have a very supportive wife, and not, I mean, financially she's supportive, but not in that way where she's just like paying for everything. And that was never the case. But
No. I know what
she's
you're
very
saying, though. I know
emotionally
what you're
supportive. She was
That's what
also
we
an
need.
actress for a long time. She works in theater, still works in theater.
Oh,
so she
so-
gets it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. She's in the arts too.
And same thing for her. She was just a technical director at a theater. And
Shout out to the wives out there.
hell yeah,
Shout out
man.
wives.
She worked her way up from being a little intern stage crew to running theaters, So she gets it too. But like when the sketch group fell apart, it kind of fell apart for a lot of reasons, but people would get older, they want different things.
Yeah. People. Certain things
And
only
if the
have
money,
certain
and
life.
you do have to do the thing where it's like, I say this for stand-ups too, I'm myself included. Like, there is a certain point where you just go, I think this is over now.
Yeah.
And It's really hard
done.
to come to grips with that.
Exactly, because impermanence is hard as fuck to deal with. Like everything has a time, a lifespan.
Exactly.
Everything has a lifespan.
So
And,
So when we broke up, we were okay with it, and it was fine. We got together a couple years after that and did a couple more shows just for fun, and that was when like the internet was really starting to get big, and videos like I can't remember their name. I mean, it was Andy Samberg's crew, whatever they're called.
I don't know.
Lonely
I don't
Island.
like-
Lonely Island.
Oh, Lonely Island. Okay, yeah, no, I know about Lonely Island.
They were like internet dudes.
Yeah, no, I loved. Yeah, I was one of their fans at the beginning. That was like
They were
some of the
great.
first internet dudes I liked.
Yeah, they were great. And so like they kind of just started doing that and it kind of became a possibility for people. And so we started messing around with that, but our band was doing very well at the time. So
What type of music?
You're going to laugh. It was like hip hop music.
I'm dead. You knew I was going. It was a hip hop rock or something. It's like Lil Wayne.
It was like early Beastie Boys, Run DMC. Very call and response.
Yeah. No, I know
like,
what you're saying.
The point I was a punk.
That's dope.
Like I told you, I had a temper. I was a drinker. We were like punk kids. Like we were theater kids. We were against the grain. Everything was against authority, against convention.
Exactly.
So like when we started our band was called Bad Credit. And it was a response to what was happening at the time. All the popular music was like screamo, emo shit, you know? So we were like, man, this music fucking sucks.
Fuck this. Yeah.
So we were like, let's start a band that's like a party band and we'll just make fun of these bands. And so that's what we did, man. And then we started going on the road with some of them. And we would just fucking rip them apart on stage, and we'd get in fights, and we would. We would go
in the band. You on the stage, get the
both
after the show?
Bathroom, stage, in the crowd. We did a. It was basically our goal was to go somewhere and not get invited back. That was our goal.
Yeah. And you really been living your drink.
Yeah, man, we were having so much fun. It was so like. It was great, and but that was the funny part about it is like so doing that. I was like, I'm done with comedy, right? I'm just doing this.
This is me now.
We're doing well. We can kind of do this for the next few years. But we started touring with a band called the Aquabats, and we became really good friends with them. And they had just they just did a pilot for a show or for a network that's not around anymore. I think it was ABC Family or Fox Family, but one of those was.
Yeah, somebody had a family. Yeah.
Somebody had a family.
Yeah.
They got away. And they were like trying to revamp the show. And they knew that we had written comedy. Like the other guy in the band was one of the guys that did sketches with us. And he was like, so Christian, the singer, was like, hey, you guys write scripts, right? And we're like, yeah, we can write scripts. And he's like, can you want to help me develop this show? So we started developing a different version of the Aquabats super show. And then while we were working on that,
now, real quick, I don't want to cut you off.
No.
Their band name was the Aquabats.
The band, and it still is. They still play. They still.
So
tour.
it's still a band right now.
Yeah. They're playing. They're going on tour next week.
And they fucking made a TV show. Now I know the name was Aquabat Super Show. I didn't know it was a band first.
Yeah, the Aquabats. Yeah, they were around when we were kids. They started in 1994.
Damn! What?
So we used to go see them as like teenagers, and we loved them. They were a band that was from another planet. And they would go up and they had like wetsuits on. And
oh, fuck.
They were a whole thing, man. They had a whole backstory. And they were super fun, like crazy fun. It was the same thing as Bad Credit, where like the whole idea was to have fun and just fuck around.
And exactly.
And they were like, they were still doing it, and it was great. And like, so we just connected and so we started developing that show with them. And then when we were doing that, they started talking about another show called Yo Gabba Gabba. Mm-hmm. And all of the songs in Yo Gabba Gabba, they wanted to do basically a Sesame Street, but they wanted to do all the songs like very based in like hip hop. So it was all call and response, very easy for kids to like dance to and move to.
Yeah.
And so they were like, you guys.
I've seen Yo Gabba Gabba, so yeah, this is all making sense now when you're telling me this. I'm like,
I know.
It's like
connected dots.
Thinking about people like being like, this is how I want it to be. And then it ends up, you watch it and it's like hella successful. Like,
I mean, it was like the thing behind Yo Gabba, dude, was like, we were able to come up with some songs initially and help with the 2 pilot episodes, but nobody believed in that fucking show.
Yeah.
Like nobody. And, we had very little to do with pitching it. We just helped write some of the episodes initially that sold the show, but like nobody got it.
Yeah,
and, like,
it's different.
They were literally like, networks were like, you have to just go make it.
Yeah.
And so we ended up making 2 episodes, and we helped them make these 2 episodes at a place called Downey Studios, and then they sold the show. They went out, and it became one of the biggest kids shows of all time.
Yeah, I was gonna say that, probably of all time, correct?
Yeah, I mean, for 2 years it was Dora the Explorer and Yo Gabba Gabba, like 1, 2 or 2 and 1. They just switched spots, and it was great. I mean, for the first season we were there all the time. And got to meet amazing people.
Aquabat Super Show was first?
No, so the Aquabat Super Show was supposed to be first.
Okay, that's kind of okay.
We had made it. We had written it, They couldn't get it sold.
And then
they diverted to this. This got sold, became huge, and that opened the door.
I was gonna say that you got the green light after that.
After that, it was like the Christian Jacobs, who created Gabba and the singer of the Aquabats, basically could get into any room he needed to.
That makes sense. Yeah.
So like, and again, like he knew that I could write, and he knew that I was a funny writer. So he was like, okay, like basically took me with him on mini adventure. So we went in, we sold Aquabats to a new network that is also now dysfunctional, but we had a couple seasons on there. And then like we had a development deal with Disney for a while for a cartoon. We had a development deal with what is that? What is it? Not Vimeo, some old thing. Vivo or something like that.
Vivo was the thing. Vivo.
Yeah, and we had a development deal with them for a little while. So it was just like,
it opened the door.
But what was funny, so it's funny that like I left comedy and then got back into comedy
through fucking music. That's crazy. So it's like it's ingrained.
I guess I have no choice.
Yeah, you can't escape that shit.
But it was fun, man. So we did that, and I know this is like you initially asked me how I got into stand up. So
no, of course.
So
I
basically,
figured it to like a big circle. It's coming around.
So what happened was that was all. That it all started happening at the same time that like the sketch group was breaking, like officially done. We got, like I said, we got back together and did a couple shows, and then it was like officially done. Zach, my buddy Zach, had gone off and started writing on TV. The other guy started getting jobs in like producing TV, and I was like, I just want to do something where I can write jokes, where I don't have to rely on anybody else.
Exactly.
Where like I can get up and I'm the master of what I'm about to do.
That's exactly what my dream is right now. I'm working on that.
And so I would go, man, and just like sketch, where it's like I sat and I watched every sketch comedy there was. I'm sorry, were we supposed to talk about weed? Weed. It's what's for dinner.
Weed. We talk about comedy and weed. While we're talking about that, we got these Stizzies out here. Stizzy has just came out with their cannabis infused gummies.
I would just like to say, Stizzy, this is I love that it's a triangle.
Yes.
But as somebody who's not, I can't do it. I just fall asleep, so that's why I don't do it. But I can tell you about the only time I did it. That's kind of a fun story. But I use 3 pieces, 30 milligrams THC, 9 servings. You have 2 different serving, and I know why. But this is my confusion about weed in general, is their marketing has to be confusing.
Yeah, no, 100%. Because I'm high right now trying to read it. And it confused me. I started doing division.
Yeah, like you're trying to figure out, like, what the hell do they mean?
Yeah, but shout out to Stizzy, though. I opened it up and realized.
I bet it's delicious.
It's 3 different sections, and each section is chopped into 3 sections.
I get it. But I did a show up at a brewery, and next to the brewery was a weed shop, and it was called The Cake Shop.
The Cake Shop.
And I'm like, that's confusing for fat people and potheads. Like, if you're a pothead and you're like, and I say pothead, that's how much you can tell I don't know anything about weed.
Yeah, it's
I'm
about
saying
weed,
pothead.
Yeah, that's a throwback.
But like, that's if you're high and you're like, man, I'm hungry. Let's go out and get something to eat. And you drive by, you see a sign for the cake shop. You're disappointed, but also immediately fine because you get more weed. But like cake, I want some. It's open. It's 10 o'clock. I want some cake. And then you go in there.
You go in there.
And if you're a fat person and you're like, I'm hungry, and you go into the cake, like just get your marketing in line. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Figure it out.
Don't be deceitful.
Figure it out. Because they definitely sell edibles.
Stizzy edibles.
Stizzy.
Oh, Stizzy.
Yeah, 3 eyes. You got to hold it.
Sorry.
Izzy.
Stizzy. Anyway. Did you know the product thing?
I do. I'm going to shout out to the Fizz I've been drinking.
Fizzy.
The Fizz. Great.
The Fizz. Just one eye.
Sparkling water. It's amazing. It's some of the best tasting sodas I've drank. And then I got Wonder Brett. Premium indoor cannabis.
I did
proudly grown in Long Beach. My bad.
I know, man. I'm going with you. I just did a fantasy baseball draft over the weekend, 2 weekends ago, and they brought this,
the Fizz,
and people were loving it.
Oh yeah, definitely, because they was having a good time.
They were
after
loving
that.
It. Well, when we were younger, everybody would go smoke weed, but it's kind of different now. You got most of us have kids. You can't really do it around the kids.
Yeah,
you got to find other ways to enjoy it,
to have fun. It looks like
the Fizz is, hey, you got kids? Drink the Fizz.
Hey, that should be the ad.
You know what I mean?
Hey, get us back some money, man.
That's what I do. I write ads.
I'm dead. Oh man.
But
Okay,
anyway,
take some of
so
these
yeah,
for your
comedy.
family.
I will,
Take some of that for your family. Yep.
I'll give them to the kids.
I'm dead.
My 1-year-old's gonna love it. She'll
Yeah.
sleep like a baby.
I was just gonna say that. You're gonna have a great night then. Yeah.
Yeah, man. So like that's
okay.
why. So stand up, like that was the thing, man. Is I showed up and I'd go to open mics. It started because Allison Gill, you know Allison Gill.
I do know Allison.
So I've known Allison for years and years, well before she was doing Muller. She wrote and all that stuff.
Yeah.
She was doing music and then started doing stand up.
Yeah, I knew her from doing stand up.
Okay, so she used to host it. We used to hang out at this bar all the time in Claremont called the Blarney Stone Pub. And
Is that still open?
still there.
I know about Blarney.
I've been there forever. And we would go there and we'd hang out there all the time. And she hosted the open mic night there for a long time. And then because she was turning into a comic, it became like kind of a comedy open mic night, which the bar did not want.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
But also so she was like, hey, can you guys come and you guys want to come and do it one night?
Yeah.
And this was like, we were doing music and stuff. We just thought it'd be super fun. So like myself and my friend Matt Gorney and Nick McCann, we were like, let's go, but we're going to write each other's jokes.
That's funny.
So
So
like-
y'all in there wilding.
So we're like, let's just go. Like we're going to
Yeah.
we'll come
Y'all
up with
was drinking.
characters.
Y'all was
I'm
drinking. Yeah.
Yeah. But also just like,
I was playing.
well, I mean, we were drinking for sure. But like, we'll come up with characters. So it's none of us are going to be us.
Yeah,
We have to have a
yeah,
character.
yeah.
And then we'll write the jokes for each
For that
other.
character.
So we go and we get up and we do the jokes live. And at the time, I did a character that was like Stephen Wright, but extreme. So like I would
Extreme one-liners.
so I would tell a one-liner, right? And then I would just leave a real long pause. Like so
awkwardly long.
Yes.
And you just
So
stare. Were
long.
you staring at people?
And I just hold it and I just stare. The mic was in the mic stand and I just stare, take a drink of my beer, do the next one.
That's so good.
It was really fun, man. And then the other guys did great characters. And we left and I was like, that was really fun. Like I had a lot of fun doing that. So Allison was like, come back. And so I kind of started coming back a little more regularly. Like me and Matt, we'd write characters for each other to do and jokes. But I kept loving writing one-liners. It was really fun.
Yeah.
So man, that's how it started. And then some guys, Christian Spicer and this guy Rajan Darney and Billy Bonnell, they would all come.
Okay, I know. I heard about Billy.
Yeah, Billy's great. They came to this Blarney Stone mic a couple times and they were like, "Do you do comedy?" And I was like, "No." And they're like, "I was like, I just have done this a couple of times." And they're like, I was like, I used to do this, blah, blah, blah. They're like, well, okay, well, why don't you?
And this is 10 years after, right? You say, or 8 years.
About 8
whatever.
years, yeah.
About 8 years, yeah.
So they were like, well, why don't you come do another open mic? And I was like, okay. So
yeah, it's like, fuck it.
I went to Winston's.
Oh, shit, throwback. I've been to Winston's too. Hey, that's crazy, man.
Winston's is crazy.
That's crazy.
And
I used to go to the mic at
dude,
Winston's.
It was packed.
It wasn't packed when I went.
And I got up there and I was like, I just remember my opener was like, how many people here are comics? And then like almost everybody raised their hand. And I was like, so all of you just want me to be done. And they like, and they laughed and stuff. And I was like, I got like 2 jokes. And I said 2 jokes and then I left. And that's kind of how it started. And I would go to open mics and I would go and I would sit there and I'd get there right when it started. Mm-hmm. I'd watch everybody and I'd do my set and then I'd stay and I'd watch everybody after me. Like it was just like, I want to know what everyone is saying.
Exactly.
I want to know what everyone's doing. I want to know what's hitting, what's not working.
That's crazy.
I also want to know, like, what if somebody has a joke that's similar to the joke I'm going to tell and it's better than mine?
Yeah, it's
And then like I have to do something, But it was
Yeah.
also a way for me to like meet other comics.
yeah, networking. That's which is part of the game. A big part of the game is
Biggest
networking, y'all.
Fucking sitting in the parking lot and talking forever.
Drink, man. Them drinking, them smoking weed, or whoever smoked the cigarettes,
Yeah.
Them.
So I became the host of the Barney Snow mic. Allison left, and I became the host. And they brought me in, and I started doing that
you a
for
comedian
years
now.
and years. And
you was at Blarney Stone for years and
yeah,
years?
I was. So the years that show became like legendary was when I was hosting it. Not because I was hosting it,
Yeah.
mind you, is because like we fully embraced it being a comedy night, but the bar did not think it was. So there was like fights all of the time. Like people got into fist fights all of the time.
I'm dead. Well, that actually adds on to the comedy because then it's like,
Yeah,
shit,
it was
this
just
is real life
gnarly.
entertainment. It was
gnarly,
WWE and
So we were doing like
that's crazy.
So I was cutting my teeth every week there, doing the other open mics, and then who I can't remember his name. This guy David, I can't remember his last name, and then Russell Hicks, who a lot of people know, he was just starting at the same time. And kind of a lot of the guys that like Jesse Egan was starting in.
Shout out
Jeff
to
Bilodeau,
Jesse, one of my guys.
Zoltan was just starting out.
Jeff was around there again too.
Yeah, he was just starting out.
I ain't gonna lie to you. I don't want to say it like that, but I didn't know Jeff was that old. I don't want to say it like that, but I thought Jeff was
I have
young.
no idea how old Jeff is.
Yeah,
he
yeah,
could
yeah.
be young.
Yeah. Well, no, I'm just saying, but I mean, I'm thinking he's more around my age, like 29.
I don't know. Yeah, I have no idea. But he was that started. So we had like a really good group.
Good group of people. No, everybody you named is fire.
Yeah, man.
Everybody you named is
we
fire.
had this guy Kyle Ray was just started. We started pretty much at the same time. He was working at the Comedy Store in LA for a long time. Renee Lancaster. This girl Kim Thompson was super funny.
Oh yes. Yeah. So it was a nice little class.
It was a
that you
good
had.
group.
It was
And then
a
like
good
a couple
class
of
you
years
had.
after that, Greg Santos started.
Now, real quick. I know you were saying earlier that it was no mics. Now, when you come back around,
Yeah.
you doing Blarney Stone? Is it other people doing mics?
Comedy
again,
Palace
too?
is now going.
Oh, the Palace is around then.
The
Okay.
Palace is going.
Yep.
Madhouse was kind of going, I think, or was it a combination? Comedy Palace and Madhouse were like together at the time.
That makes sense.
Yeah, they were together at the time. So Palace was going, Comedy Store was going. There was one other like weird open mic night I can't remember to save my life that I never went to. Winston's, and then there was ours.
So you went from 1 a week to 7, 6.
Yeah, and it was like I went up all the time, and then yeah, man. Like, and then so when this guy Greg, who became one of my best friends in comedy, he started doing comedy, and we just hit it off. So him, Billy, and I, we were just all the time drinking and hanging out and doing shows, and then it was like, and then the scene just exploded after that.
So real quick, I wanna make sure people understand the part about where you said you showed up first. Mm-hmm. Listen to everybody, did yours, and then stayed in while listening to everybody else. Because a lot of people don't understand that this game it's you got to study. It's a craft, and like that's verifying to me because what I do, I watch everybody, all the greats. I've seen all their interviews, everybody's specials. I like. Cause same thing though. And it's crazy because hearing you say it, I was like, I want to see what they doing, kind of what's hitting, what's not, kind of how to be on this level. What does it look like? And then the game kind of slowed down for me, if that makes sense. Yeah, man. It's like I can see the details now.
What's the worst thing you can do is, if you're starting,
and I'm young, I'm 7 years in by the way, so I'm young.
If you're starting to do stand up. Like the worst thing you can do is just assume you have it figured out.
Yeah, and it's crazy because I see a whole bunch of them, and I didn't realize like it's a whole bunch of people that was like, it was crickets, and they was like, man, I killed that shit. Bam, I was murdered.
I'll tell you my favorite. This is my favorite story. I wonder if Jesse remembers it. God, I hope he does. We went to Winston. Winston's used to be the place.
No, yeah, I believe it though.
It was the place.
Beach,
Every Friday you would go, and it would be packed.
Winston's is fire.
Because there was Comedy Palace, Comedy Store, and Winston's. Those were like the big open mics.
Yeah.
So everybody, that was your Friday night, and so we would all hang out there every Friday. There was a fucking guy, dude, gets up on stage, right? And some guy gets up on stage with them. Both kids, maybe 21, maybe. Mm-hmm. Both get up on stage. I mean, I guess I had to be in there. The friend walks up on stage, just stands off to the stage, on the side of the stage. That's it. Has sunglasses on. That's it, right? Guy gets up. He's doing jokes. They're all bad. They're all terrible fucking jokes. Yeah. He's so bad, right? And then he's like, he said something at the end like, and that's right. Like he just killed it or something, right? Like. And then he walks off stage, and as he's walking off stage, his buddy walks over to the mic and goes, and I'm his manager. And then he walked off stage, and I've never laughed so hard.
I was waiting for the end.
Because in our minds, I'm like, if that was like a bit, that's next level wonderful.
You at the next level.
But but it wasn't. They were serious. That he just did the best set ever. And in case anyone was wondering, that's the guy to talk to book him.
Manager?
That's the manager. Like, what the fuck is that?
With shades on the stage?
Man. That's
nigga?
the shit you see when you're like, come on, man. You don't. And it's like
I've seen some crazy shit like that too. I'm from Indiana, so don't.
Oh, okay. All right.
I'm from where there is no scene. So, and excuse me for the people out there that's doing it, but the scene is cornfields and. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm the only black person in Crawfordsville for 100 miles.
Yeah.
I'm in No Niggerland, like Indiana. Like we in there. Like I'm.
Yeah. No, I was born in Ohio. I spent a lot of time in Ohio.
Oh, so, okay.
Yeah, man.
Oh,
I had to go back there every summer for years and years. Middle of nowhere.
Yeah, so you
nothing
understand.
around. Oh, I understand.
You understand.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Comedy for me was like stand up. Nowadays, like I show up and I leave, but it's like that's mainly because I have a family.
Yeah, no,
and I have
course,
a drive,
of
and it's like
course.
if I can go, it's hard though for me now because like. It gets to a point, and this might sound like wait, but it gets to a point where you're like, I need to have time to work stuff out as a comic, and like I don't have that time like anymore. I can't go do open mics anymore.
Yeah, of course.
So there was a time where I was just like showing up, and I was the guy bumping people, and like people got pissed off, and I'm like, I get it because I got pissed off, but at the same time, like I can't.
need this.
I need 10 minutes.
I got
right now.
this.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like I have to go get paid this weekend. Like I need to work this out.
And that's a thing. And do you feel like it's a trade off because right now you do work you I don't know if you work somewhere else now, right?
Yeah, my main job is a place called Raindrop.
Raindrop.
Yeah, yeah.
Raindrop. And then you still do stand up? Do you get paid from stand up now?
So
or
like
is
it's weird, man. The last
talk
couple
to
of
me
years
about it.
during the pandemic, like I started doing about a decade ago. I started doing stories and like writing stories out and then reading them in public.
Oh man, and
There's like
I'm sorry, we didn't even talk about
No,
that.
we could talk about it right now. It's all right.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like story shows that people do, like The Moth or This American Life has done them. Risk. There's a bunch of great story shows. There's one in San Diego called Vamp that I started doing it because I was suggested to do it from another old comic named Kate Lee, and I went and I did it, and it was like this thing that like really challenged my writing. Like and I was like, this is great, man, and it really made me think about things in a different way.
I like that.
And I found that like I started ditching the one-liners, started just doing crowd work.
Yeah.
I started just challenging myself.
I was gonna say it made you dig deeper.
Well, it's like, yeah, you like, because also you get bored, and it's like I said, like if I get bored or if I'm too ingrained and something becomes too weird or regular, I'm like, I gotta walk away. So it's like, the one-liners, I stopped doing those. I just started doing crowd work, and the way my outlet for writing was just these story stuff. So I started doing these stories. And then like during the pandemic when everything got shut down, I was like, I don't really miss doing stand-up very much.
I know, that's weird, ain't it?
You grind and you do it forever, and then
Yeah.
you're like, man, I just don't miss going out and doing it every night. Like,
Yeah.
but
That's the thing. It's so funny because I'm on the opposite end. Like I was dying.
Yeah,
I was
yeah,
like,
yeah.
Fuck, I'm having anxiety. I was doing the weak ass Zoom shows.
yeah,
and I was bombing on them
a Zoom
bitches.
show. That was tough.
I was bombing on them bitches. That shit was not it.
I like blessings to anyone who got through that.
Hey, I did like some festivals and
People loved it.
my bad.
No, man, it's true. They like those. I did one, and I was like, well, that's it. I'll never do that again. Like,
Yeah.
I can't.
Yeah.
I take it all so personally. So it's like if I have a Zoom show and like it's not working out, then now I have to be at home upset.
Yeah. You hit
No.
my domain.
Yeah,
I'm pissed off.
I just bombed in my house. Like this is awful. That's terrible. So like
You
I didn't
turn
miss
around
it at
and look at
all.
your wife and shit. I just bombed.
Yeah, she just like
In front of
just
strangers.
disappointed, looking at me. And I like and people would be like, "Oh, come do my parking lot show," but then no, like, and like I get to a point where it's like I'm at a point now where like I have to get a little bit of money, or it has to be for a
Gotta
good
be worth
cause.
it. The time. Yeah.
Like tonight I'm doing a show. It's a benefit show. I'm always happy if I have time
Purpose. Exactly.
to come and be funny for a reason. But like if not, like I need to get a little bit of money at least to get down there. But these parking lot shows were like, oh, we'll give you like we can give you like $15. Can you do 30? And I'm like, no, I cannot. And then and then it kind of became like during the pandemic, I kind of got disconnected from the scene a little bit.
Yeah.
Which is fine. I'm like
I mean,
that happens.
but, yeah.
And like, and I just started really leaning into the story stuff. And I was like, man, I have all these stories that are recorded and they're great and fun and sad and funny. And I was like, this is really what I want to do. Like, I miss doing this show. I
Exactly.
don't miss doing stand up. I miss doing this. And like, so I decided I'd put an album out with featuring some of the stories. I put 3 albums out actually. And so that was the plan. And that's still the plan. So the first album came out. And it's available now. It's called Rough Drafts Stories to Drink To, and it's a collection of stories, like 5 stories. And the next one will come out in June, late June, and then the last one will come out probably December.
See, but with the rough draft, you were top 10.
Number 2.
You was number 2.
It was number 2 on the charts for about a week.
Yeah,
man.
Come on now, come on.
Well,
Those accolades. Them some good stories right there.
It's fun, man. Like it's one of those things where it's a genre that people really don't understand, and
Yeah.
rightfully so. Like, what the fuck are you? Hey, I'm gonna go tell stories. You want to come hear me tell
You trying to
stories?
go here, bro? You trying to come sit down and drink a beer with me while I'm telling you
Yeah. No, it's cool. It's cool. It's great. It's really
campfire, bro. It's not no campfire or nothing. Like it's just me sitting
fun.
down.
I
with
bring
some-
out a guitar. It's fine. Yeah.
It's not
no.
camping or nothing. No, we sit down.
People don't get it. And
Semicircle.
bring a blanket. It'll get cold.
Come on.
Yeah, no, I was like, I told people, I'm like, it's an art form. Like Mike Birbiglia has kind of really blazed a path for people to go.
I'm a fan.
He's
a fan
so
of
great.
Mike
And
He's a really good writer.
you're like, hey, this is a thing you can do now. Like you can get up and you can do an hour that's a story. It doesn't have to be stand up. Feels like stand up, but it's not stand up.
I feel like Dave Chappelle kind of is in that realm a little bit.
He's gotten there. Hassan Minaj did one. This guy Moses Storm just did kind of a story.
Oh, you talking about Homecoming King?
Yeah. Or no, was it Homecoming King?
That's his first. I mean, that's
Hassan?
only Hassan Minaj special. I
Yeah,
think he got.
it's like he
It's
tells
his
like
life.
a progression
It's
of
his
his
life.
life. Yeah,
That's one of my favorite specials I've ever seen in my life.
it's great.
And he's young too, and I was like, "This is your first."
Yeah, it makes you mad. But they're good.
Yeah.
So like it's like this is an art form that can just start to be classified as its own art form. And so I kind of wanted with the album, I just wanted to prove that people would be interested in it. And
Exactly.
obviously we proved that.
Yeah.
And so it's like, all right, well, let's
course.
keep it going. So I signed with this publicity group and
Congratulations.
publicist. Thanks. And so
Congratulations.
they're going to be working on the next album, and hopefully that'll even be even bigger. And then my hope is that next year I'll tour and do just a story.
What you mean is you're about to tour and do just a story.
Well, I mean, you hope. I have a family. You never know, man.
You're
What
right,
if one of my
you're right.
daughters like,
right.
no, you're not going, Dad. I'm not going to be like,
All right.
shut your
Yeah,
face.
you're right. You can't go.
Yeah. So like, that's the dream. I'm working on a whole hour as these old, like all the stories that are coming out or have already been performed and recorded. So as these come out, I'm working on a new hour. And then next year I'll tour that story out.
That's dope. The one thing I love about what we do too is how you can even start and stand up, but comedy is its own umbrella. Like
Yeah.
it's its own.
Well, I used to tell Greg that all the time.
Yeah.
Sorry, I cut you off.
No, you good. You good.
Yeah,
you
I
good.
used to tell Greg Santos that all the time because we would sit and we would talk about, we would write sketches. We were just kind of throwing darts at the wall. And it's like, that's what this is. Like, there's such a small percentage of people that are going to make it as stand-ups. Like, make it. And by
Yeah.
make it, I mean, just be touring stand-up.
Yeah,
This is how you make your
100%.
living.
100%.
Such a small percentage.
And now it's even smaller because I feel like in my generation, it's even more saturated. Like now
Oh,
it's a
God,
thing.
yeah, with TikTok
and then when
and
you
everything.
multiply the internet comedians who got a following, so the clubs just want to sell fucking tickets. They just trying to sell tickets and drinks and food. So
yeah.
and they bombing
Yeah.
for an hour. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Not knocking nobody personally or nothing like that. You know. But
No,
what I'm
it's-
just saying is it's a different. It used to only be one type of people that can get on the stage. Now it's more.
Now, anybody like, oh, you got 1 million followers? Great. Come do a
Exactly.
weekend.
You ain't gotta.
And it's rough. Like, you watch these people and like a lot of them are not great.
Yeah.
But like,
I do understand the grind though. It's interesting.
but
though,
and
'cause
their
it's
grind
back
is a
and forth.
totally different grind.
It's back and forth.
It's always putting out content.
Yeah, and I ain't gonna lie, like that was my biggest fear. And I've been a bitch. I gotta be honest with myself to just not be doing the content consistently.
Yeah.
But like my biggest fear was getting anywhere and being trash. Like getting there and then like, yeah, and then just not being able to show up.
Totally.
And you know.
That's the hardest part about it is like,
yeah.
is staying consistent and being constantly at the not staying consistent also, but staying relevant. You know, and that's why I say like disconnected from the scene. Like I came back to doing a couple of I still do stand up every now and then, just to work the muscle, just to be on stage. I don't really write a ton of new stuff. I kind of just like doing crowd work still.
Yeah. But you're a beast at that though.
I appreciate
And
it.
it takes a lot of time and experience. And I was going to ask you about
Yeah.
that. Like, how long would you say? Because people don't understand the hours it takes to get good at doing crowd work. Like,
Yeah.
you did probably crowd work for hours and hours and hours.
Yeah.
Like, how? What advice would you give young comedians or
For crowd work?
to just get better at stand up? To just
Oh, man.
in the game in general.
Well, you know what's funny is like I
Yeah.
don't this past couple of years I've really come to grips with the
And
fact
we
that-
talking about stand up comedy,
Stand-up,
not
stand-up.
the TikTok.
Totally.
I'm talking
Yeah,
stand-up.
TikTok I couldn't tell you.
Yeah.
Good. God bless you. I don't have the time to do
the
it.
dance.
Like
dance.
you said, it's its own grind, and like
Yeah.
literally, I look at people like just not even TikTok specific, but like I look at like people like Dustin Nickerson or James Schrader or Zoltan.
Oh yeah, those are my guys.
All three guys that
I'm trying to get all them on here too.
there you go. They'll come on.
Yeah, no,
Dustin, what do you
100%.
do? You're not busy. Those are all good friends of mine, and they are to me like I look at them and I'm like those are stand-ups. Like Brian Simpson's a perfect example.
Yeah.
Brian started a little bit after me, but he was one of those guys where you saw him and you're like, oh, that's a fucking stand-up comedian. Like he has something important to say. And we need to hear it.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's important and it's real
And it's
fucking funny.
hilarious. And it's going to change the way you think.
And like Dustin, I think Dustin and James and Zoltan, maybe their content isn't as important as what Brian's talking about. But like they clearly know their way around a stand-up set. Like,
No, 100%.
And I don't look
I think
at my
Zoltan got one of the best cat and dog bits.
Yeah,
ever seen.
It's not as funny as mine. But
I'm dead. I feel you.
But but like, I look at this over the last couple of years, like during the pandemic and stuff. This is going to sound like the whitest thing I'll ever say, but
Yeah, I'm ready.
James, Dustin, and Jason Lawhead, the four of us, we play golf kind of regularly. And
That ain't that bad. That ain't that bad.
But
I thought he was going to say something worse.
But
than
we
that.
would like
That's
talk, and they would talk shop, and I'm like, you know what? Like, I don't really care about any of this. But they grind so hard on the internet. Like, so it's not just TikTokers making content for TikTok. It's like they're stand-ups that also realize the part of the game is like grinding and putting that
that's
shit
it.
on TikTok.
That's
and
it. That's
filming and all that stuff. Whereas you would never film your set and put it out ever. Are you fucking crazy? Then you can't do that 10 minutes anymore. Yeah. Like, it's so like the fact that they do it and they do it so well, like that is just a different motor that I don't have. And I've kind of realized that over the last couple of years, it's like, I'm a stand-up. I'm a comedian, but I don't know if I'm a stand-up.
Exactly.
I love being on stage. I love acting. My storytelling thing is the future for me. But like when I look at young comics, like, and I've had a few people during the years ask me about crowd work and how to do crowd work.
Yeah. What about
my
that?
advice
Yeah. What
is-
advice would that be?
Do it. The only advice that I can give anyone is to go do it. There's no specific way to win or lose.
Yeah.
I remember like, I sat and I would tell people, oh, well, like don't ever, like me and Russell Hicks Russell is very well known for only doing, like every show he does is improvised. He moved to England and he does great out there. Every once in a while he comes back to the States, but we were both at the same time at the Blarney Stone just doing crowd work. That's all we were doing. Early on, very early on. And that was a great place to do it, man, because like there was a bar,
yeah.
and they don't really want comedy. So it's like you find the limit real quick.
No, 100%. No, 100%.
But that was like the part of it. Like you had to find it. You had to have somebody in your face.
You got to
going,
stretch.
I'm going to fucking murder you if you don't shut up. Like,
and then you be like, oh, maybe I shouldn't say this.
maybe I shouldn't say that.
Yeah,
And it takes you a while to find out. But it's like, well, how do I avoid that? I don't fucking know, because you're dealing with everybody. So it's like, the best advice I ever got on crowd work was from by watching Don Rickles, who's the most legendary crowd work comic there ever was.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I ain't gonna
Don
lie to
Rickles
you.
is just.
I just know him for his legendary jokes.
Yeah, his jokes are incredible. But like,
I didn't know
if you
about
ever
that.
see him, if you ever saw him, like he used to, in his later years, he kind of just had his set, and he would still
course.
riff a little bit.
Yeah.
But like, I saw him a few times.
When he had energy.
Yeah, I saw him a few times, and he was just so great. I remember he would say shit that didn't make any sense, but it was still the best thing ever. Like
It was fire, yeah.
He pointed at some lady in the front row one time, and he said, "Hey, lady, close your legs. What are you waiting for the train?" It doesn't make any sense, but it's so fucking funny.
Yeah,
like
that
it's
is
just
hilarious because it make you think, and then
like
you
you're
don't
like,
have
"What?"
to think.
And then you're like, her vagina? Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, it's-
and it's so. But anyway, Don Rickles used to
and then
always
he used
say,
to sell it too.
and he did a lot of insults. He was racist, but it was all like, but his thing was like, he wanted everyone to be in on the joke.
Yeah.
Like, and that was the best advice I can give anybody doing crowd work is like, everyone has to be in on the joke. Like, even the person you're leaning into, if you start leaning into somebody and you see that they're not having a good time, then you need to move on. This is for newer comics. Older comics, you do whatever the fuck you want to do.
Yeah.
But newer comics,
This is for newer comics. That's what
unless
I'm
you're
saying.
like, I'm gonna turn this guy, you're probably not. And
Yeah.
there's no reason to ruin your night and his night by trying to try to exercise some
somebody to
muscle.
fight
You know what I
you.
mean?
Yeah.
Like, so it's like that's the best advice about doing crowd work is everyone's on the joke. the guy who you're making fun of, the girl who's sitting next to him. Like everybody has to be in on what you're doing. And if they're not, then it won't work.
Yeah.
You know? And it won't work for everybody. Like even if the guy you're talking to, even if they're in on it and the rest of the crowd is not, then there's a guy, David Rosenberg, who does crowd work. I don't know if you know David Rosenberg.
It sounds familiar.
We did a show. We did one of those speakeasy shows, and he does crowd work. And Aaron, the host, like messaged me. He's like, "Hey, I don't know if you remember, but David does a lot of crowd work, and you do crowd work. I had you guys going back to back. Do you want to go before or after him? It doesn't matter." And I was like, "Oh, I don't care, man. Whatever you want to do." And he was like, "Okay, I just want to make sure, you know." And he's like, "I don't know if you wanted to do material or crowd work, you know, but I think David's just doing crowd work." And I was like, I don't care.
It doesn't matter. Yeah. It's crazy. Some people don't understand that it's after. It don't matter.
But it was a nice thing.
Can adapt.
It was a nice gesture for Aaron to do that.
Yeah.
And sorry if you got to get going.
No, you're good. No, you're good. We got.
But David got up and the crowd was in this weird position, this weird setup where there was a whole half of the back that and David was working the front of the crowd and there was really no way for the back to see what he was doing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was there on the side of the stage and I was thinking to myself, like, man, like why is he doing that? You know, like and I started to get. And I was drinking a lot too, so I started to get really annoying about it. But then as it went on though, like he got everybody on board. There was some people in the back that were just being fucking problems to be problems. So
of course
that had nothing to do with him. But like as it went on, man, he got most everybody in that weirdly shaped audience in on it. And I was like, I didn't think that was fucking possible.
It's masterful almost, isn't it?
And it opened the door for me to get up there and be like, all right, well then I'm going to do whatever I want to do.
Exactly.
And I even messaged him afterwards. And I almost never talk to comics. Just because I can't, it's hard for me to talk to people in public settings. But like I messaged him. I was like, dude, I didn't think that was going to work. I can't believe that you got everybody on board. Like that was great, man. That was really cool to see. So that's my best advice for crowd work is unless you're confident, don't fucking try it.
Yeah.
And don't try to open mics. You're just talking to comics.
Yeah. You're wasting time there.
Anyway.
Before we get out of here,
weed. The Fizz.
Yes.
Brought to you by the Fizz. Drink weed.
The Fizz. Drink weed. Shout out March and Ash too, letting us do the podcast.
Hell yeah.
Shout out March and Ash. Where can we find you on all your social medias? I know you said you're not a big social media person, but you still got them.
I do social media.
Yes.
I do. I started doing TikTok for fun. Okay. So you can go to my website, though, DallasSMcLaughlin.com. DallasMcLaughlin.com is my website. That's where you can go. It's got links to everything, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. Okay. And my album, you can get my album, iTunes, Apple.
Spotify?
It's not on Spotify.
It's not on Spotify?
You know what? I didn't want to put it up because of the whole Rogan thing. I just thought it was.
Oh, I ain't mad at that.
I thought it was also their profit shares are just fucking. You don't get nothing.
It's not the same. Yep.
And
get
I'm
that
like,
on iTunes.
So it was more a protest of me going like, you know what? You gave him $200 million and I'm getting 20 cents for 1,000 downloads. Like,
yeah.
So like. And also, nothing against. Like, listen, Joe Rogan is a master at what he's doing. I just thought how Spotify was handling it was very wrong.
Yep.
And they were completely negating all the other artists that they had on their platform.
Come on now.
And they're shitty to comics. So I'm like, you know what? Fuck you.
Hey, I ain't mad at that though, because you ain't. I don't hear no lie right there.
Yes. And Bandcamp is the other place. On Bandcamp is a great.
Bandcamp.
If you ever release an album, I'm telling you, do Bandcamp.
Bandcamp. I ain't never heard of Bandcamp.
Bandcamp.
Okay.
Artists do it. It's not the most accessible thing for people, but it's like. They can download your music and they can pay whatever they want. So like, and you get like a huge percentage of it.
Okay.
I'll tell you this.
More.
I had my old album, my 2016 album where I did all my one-liners in one night and I retired them. It was like one night I'm doing everything I ever wrote.
Yeah.
And I'll never do it again. So I did that album. I put it out. I had that album out for 2 years. In 2 years, in 2 days, I made the same amount of money on Bandcamp that I made in 2 years with the Spotify, that album on
crazy.
Spotify. And I had really good numbers on Spotify. It's crazy. Fucking nuts, dude.
That I believe it. I mean, that's just how the game go now because everybody is so saturated again.
Oh, you gotta get your just content.
Gotta
just burn it out.
Yeah,
so,
fuck that.
Anyway,
yes,
that's it, man.
So thank you for the you've been dropping gems the whole episode. So thank you for that.
Yeah, Bandcamp, do it.
I appreciate that. This has been hilariously blunt.
Hey.
Appreciate y'all. We got the cameras.
Weed. This is also a fun puzzle. If you get high, if you get high while you're eating them, you can be like, "Hey, man, let's build shit.
Yeah.
Let's build a bunch of
Make
shit."
an L. All right, y'all be blessed. Y'all have a great rest of y'all week, and we out.
Thank you for listening to Hilariously Blunt with Walter Ford, presented by March and Ash. For more, visit us online at olasmedia.com, and don't forget to subscribe where you download your favorite podcasts. In case you suffer from short-term memory loss, let me repeat that for you. Visit Hilariously Blunt with Walter Ford online at olasmedia.com, and after you subscribe, puff, puff, pass it along to a friend. Okay, I'll stop.